Lieutenant, you ready? First of all, I want to say good afternoon to all that are here today. I want to take this opportunity, as I try to do, is to really arm you when we have an incident that is sensitive as this and as traumatic as this, that I want to arm you with the facts over what may be the hearsay. Before I go any further, I'd like to take this opportunity to extend, Lynette and I would like to extend our condolences out to the family of Maya and her family during this difficult time. I want us, when I say us, I mean this community, to take this opportunity to support this family. For me being a father of 4, I can't imagine what it feels like to lose your 15-year-old. And I have children, they're ranging from 13 to 33. They've been in this world for some time. But as a community, we must support them. I want us as a community to let this family grieve. That means that we need to not want to go by and ask questions. Don't stop by if you've never stopped by before. A card in the mail may be appropriate. A well wish on Facebook may be appropriate. But please, allow this family to grieve. If you've never had an opportunity, if you've never had this happen to you and your family at any given time, you don't know what it feels like. And as I said, as a father, I cannot imagine that I would have to bury my children. I want my children to bury me. As a father, I must realize how precious our children are. And for those who are parents out there today, I want you to realize how precious your children are as well. Take this opportunity to hug them and kiss them. Most importantly, stop by and spend some time with them. For parents who are out there, make sure that you ask questions. If your children were at this event, or if they know the family, or they know the young lady, ask them how they're doing. Ask them how they're feeling. If they seem a little aloof with you, just don't stop with one question. Ask many questions. I know in high school I had the same thing happen. An innocent friend of mine's was shot between 2 feuds, and it really bothered me. So if you know any of those children, and for those children who went to high school with this young lady, those teachers, those students, those principals, everyone will need our support. And we've already started the process in helping the school, as well as helping the family with those that are professional in the mental health field. So I just want to, once again, to say this is the one opportunity that we have as a community to come together, that we can all agree that this is important enough for us to put our differences aside and love and help this family through this difficult time. And at this time, I'll have Chief Davis come and say a few words.
Good afternoon. As I've said on many occasions, those of you who know me know that I don't shy away from my faith. My prayers go out to the family of this child and also to the victims of Dadeville, Alabama. We serve a God who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ever ask or imagine. 2 joyous occasions suddenly turned tragic. Shootings involving young people have become a concerning issue in recent years. But this one is deeply concerning because it involves a 15-year-old child who was tragically taken away from us too soon. This afternoon, I beg you, anyone who has information, to please come forward. It is crucial that we as a people keep our neighborhoods safe by providing information about crime. It is important to remember that even the smallest piece of information can make a significant impact on helping our detectives in solving this crime. I have with me here today Captain Jason Simon, our Chief of Detectives, Lieutenant Muhammad Awad, Assistant Chief of Detectives, Sergeant Jessica Shield, who heads up our victim crime unit and our juvenile division unit. And they're going to speak to you today on this incident.
I provided a general press release of what occurred, but just to recap, around 10:39 in the evening that night, officers were called to 3503 Southern Boulevard for a shooting. We received no calls prior to that regarding the gathering. We had officers on the road in the immediate area, and they responded quickly. They were there within a minute. So our patrol division, along with our neighborhood response team, arrived, and they observed the victim, juvenile, 15 years old, shot, and they provided first aid to her before the ambulance services arrived. And at that time, she was transported to Mercy Health, where she was pronounced deceased. Detectives were called out, crime lab was called out, and we arrived, and we began a process of trying to sift through all the information there, interviewing people, trying to gather any video surveillance from that business and from neighboring businesses and homes, and we're still in that process of doing so. But I can't go into details right now. We haven't done all that, and we're still in the process of completing. There's numerous people we have to speak to. We've already spoken to many people, and there are probably hundreds of hours of body cam footage and surveillance footage that we have to get through. So unfortunately, we can't give you guys more than just a general statement regarding that, but something I noticed, and I believe Captain's going to speak on this, is that our juvenile crime is going up. Crimes related to juveniles, people under 18, especially people under 21, have gone up. We went inside there. There was numerous kids inside. Again, we responded. By the time the Detective Bureau got there, it was 11 o'clock. There's definitely kids there past their curfew, but we weren't focused on that at the moment. We were focused on the homicide that occurred. And when we were speaking to the kids, we were releasing them to their family members on the phone or in person. We were getting the feedback from the family members, from the mothers and fathers, that they had no idea their kids were even there. They were lying to their moms where their location was. They attended the party without telling anybody. And when I asked some of the parents who were there and on the phone if they knew who their kids were with, they said no. I asked them if they knew who their kids were friends with. They also said no. So goes back to what the captain said and the chief said in the previous press conference, that it starts at home. It doesn't start with the police. It definitely starts at home. So if you don't know where your kid is and you don't know who they're hanging out with, you're leading them on a path of problems for the future. So also in regards to information, the bar is full of people, but nobody seems to want to come forward and give us the information that we need. Anonymous tips are great, and they can point us in the right direction, but they're not good enough to get a conviction. They're not good enough to get warrants signed. They're not good enough to move forward with a case in the direction that we want it to. So we need people to come down. We need people to be willing to talk to the police on camera and talk to us about what occurred. With hundreds of people there had to be people who actually watched it happen, watched it unfold, and know the parties involved. I'm going to butcher the quote, but Detective Mike Cox, who's leading this investigation, he said it best. He attended last night's services at that location for that young lady, and he said something that's profoundly moving to me, at least, and I think it resonates, and it should resonate to the people who were there who actually watched it. He said, again, I'm going to butcher this, but he said something like, snitching is when 2 people or 3 people are committing a crime and one tells on the other to try to get out of it or try to get out of jail time or whatever it may be. But snitching is not when you're an innocent person and you're trying to enjoy yourself and somebody randomly shoots into a crowd killing a young girl. That's not snitching, that's being a good person. So, he said it way better than I could say it, but that's the point. It's not snitching if you come forward to tell the police what occurred last night. A 15-year-old lost her life, and she was completely innocent. So telling the police what occurred is doing the right thing, is being a good person, being a good human being. So I encourage anybody who was there last night to come forward and talk to us, come down to the station. We'll be happy to talk to you regarding the events that unfolded where a 15-year-old lost her life. So that's all I got. Cap?
Good afternoon, everyone. The mayor made a very profound statement. And I'm going to take that same statement, but I'm going to turn it around a little bit. He said that this is an opportunity, one opportunity for the community to come together and support the family. And I completely agree with that. In your prayers and in your thoughts, in your outreach, this is the opportunity for the community to come and support the family, and they should do so. However, it is also the opportunity for the community to do the right thing and to come and speak to law enforcement about what happened on Saturday night. Now, it wasn't even 4 days ago that myself, the mayor, and the chief, and all of us were standing up here and talking about healthy conflict resolution and how it appears in our frame, in our lens, from what we are seeing in law enforcement, that is not going on with our youth today. We've had 4 homicides this year, unfortunately, and 2 of them within the last 7 days. All of those individuals who were killed, in addition to some of the arrestees or suspects that we have in mind, are all juveniles or very, very young adults, right around or under 21, 22 years of age. And I can tell you that regardless of why it happened or the exact conflict that was going on, clearly none of it had to happen, but is due, from what we've discovered so far, from a lack of healthy conflict resolution among these young men and women today. That's what the families need to help to work on. When the men and women of the Youngstown Police Department, and especially and unfortunately the men and women of the Youngstown Detective Division, show up on your scene, it is too late for your conflict resolution, because now we have to get involved in a way that's sad for our entire community. As Lieutenant Awad and the mayor and the chief both spoke to, there were dozens and dozens of people at this event. Someone saw something and someone knows something. The men and women of the Youngstown Police Department do the finest job in the country of policing their community and of investigating the crimes that come to their attention. But they are not wizards. They are not miracle workers. They need the community's help on 2 fronts. Number one, to help stop these crimes within the community before they occur by having a serious talk with the young men and women in this community. And secondly, when this does happen, to come forward and do the right thing and speak to law enforcement. Someone saw and or knows what happened. You may know them. They may be your brother, they may be your sister, they may be your friend. But that should not stop you from doing the right thing. Amya was a cheerleader at her school. She had recently won, to my understanding, some awards for her skills, and she was a leader among her cheerleading squad. And if the community wants to remember her as a leader at her young age, I think the community needs to do the right thing, step up and lead, and speak to the investigators about what they saw or heard that night as we continue to do our work on our end. Thank you.
Councilwoman,
Yeah,
30 seconds.
30 seconds. I don't want more,
Okay.
because I don't want to cry. Thank you. I did not expect to be here today. I never wanted to be back here in this capacity like this. I had 36 years at the Youngstown Police Department, and I have been hardened a lot. But this is the kind of stuff that just rips at your heart, at your soul. Now, they can give you the facts. I'm gonna give you my emotion. So many of us have been touched by this kind of violence, and I'm not an exception. I had a 15-year-old cousin who was murdered similar to this many, 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 many years ago. And thoughts and prayers are all good, but we got to do action as well. We can't just sit back here and just throw our hands up in the air and say there's nothing we can do about this. Yeah, we're going to wrap our arms around this family, but we as a community, we got to go up there and help each other to do better. We can't accept this as our normal.
The common thing that I keep hearing even here now is community and what it is to be a community. A lot of times we have a lot of complaints about our community. We task the mayor and the police chief and city council with what to do with the problems in our community. But the underlying issue, and a lot of people are not going to like to hear this, but you got to consider who's trashing our community. It's us trashing our community. You got to take into fact who's killing our kids. It's our kids killing our kids. And whether or not you're a mother or a father, I'm sure your thinking is just like my mother's was when I was a kid. That's my baby. That's my angel. He's innocent. He's not doing it. My mother stood in this courtroom and others and defended me to the death. And the whole time I was guilty. We got to look at ourselves. Sometimes the best thing to do for your baby is to understand that your baby need help. And by helping your baby, you help save the lives of somebody else's baby. It's on us. We have to give solutions and answers to the problems that we have in our own community. And we have to take accountability upon ourselves and say, this is our issue, this is our problem, this is our community. And we have to work with the mayor and the police chief and city council and give them the initiatives that we need to see done. But we also have to ask ourselves, what is the sacrifice we're willing to make as parents and members of this community to see change? It's on us.
Thank you. All right, questions? We'll take some questions. Joe?
Yeah, I got questions. I don't know if they'll answer them, but.
Well, give a swing. Swing at it, Joe, and see what we
I'm
do.
gonna swing. Was there more than one shooter?
Yes, there was. There was two groups of people shooting at each other. We don't know how many shooters were involved in each group, but there was two parties to this, and they weren't alone.
Was the young lady, was she shot inside, outside? And I know you found her in a car.
Yeah, outside the bar.
Was somebody trying to take her to the hospital when you guys got there? Or?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Was there, like, there was no kind of fight at first, right?
There was some, I mean, in a traditional sense of fist fight or physical fight, no, but there was some conflict that occurred or has been occurring or brewing over the last, of course, of a couple of weeks. So yes, there's some confrontation that has occurred and was occurring before that.
With people at that party?
With people who end up shooting at each other. Those two parties involved were showing up back and forth at that party, location, restaurant, whatever you want to call that. And around 10, I think 35, 36, they came back and began shooting at each other.
What would you say to those who maybe fear retaliation or losing their own lives if they come forward as a witness?
You know, I've been a police officer for 12 years. I've been in the city, born and raised in the city of Youngstown. I've been involved in the city, so I'm 39 years old. And I don't recall a situation where a person who's not involved was retaliated against for coming forward and doing the right thing.
Can you tie this shootings to any other shootings in the city?
I can't comment on that.
You guys have any suspects? Like,
Yes, we have some suspects, but we can't release any information regarding the suspects. So we're gonna, hopefully, as I said earlier, we're gonna sift through the footage and the interviews before we release anything. And when we do, you guys will get a press release.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to talk about the concept of complicity to murder for 1 minute. These fine detectives will solve this case. They will find out who the shooter was. I want anyone who is assisting or has assisted the shooter or shooters to understand that you can be and will be charged with complicity if you assist the shooter in any way. And that's the same level of offense as the homicide, as the murder. So if you're thinking about assisting the shooter in some way, understand that you're putting yourself at great risk of going to prison for the rest of your life. So anyone who has assisted or will assist the shooter or shooters, it's time now to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I know that you guys, you don't know when these shootings are gonna happen, there's no way you can know. And you were talking about how the family needs to step in and they need to be able to do something to prevent this from happening. And you guys are talking about how the juvenile count is going up. Is there anything out there, anything more that you guys can do to try to stop, that from happening? And do you guys know how many juveniles have, been killed by gunfire over the past maybe 2 years?
I don't think that's a number that we keep track of. We're just looking at the current metrics of the young men that we're most recently. You look at the numbers. So we'll continue to work with our partnerships. Once again, we always want to say, always look for responsibility. Who's responsible? Who's responsible? Those who pulled the trigger, those who initiated this heinous crime. That's who's responsible for it. We can only do so much part from the government side. In the household, as the councilman said, my mother knew where I was at. If you can hear by some of the kids said they lied to their parents, and that's why I say if your parents, ask them. If you got to take that bold initiative. My mother was not afraid to ask me any question for me to live in her household. Were you there? What do you know? And we need parents to step up and help us. If you want to know what's my part, what can I do for my community, the place that I call home, ask your young men and women, were you there? Do you know anything about it? Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, guys.